Hi, everyone. I'm Kay Gabriel. I work here at the Poetry Project. We're profoundly excited tonight to celebrate the launch of Love, Joe, the Letters of Joe Brainard, edited by Daniel Kane. Thank you all for coming. Some logistics before we get started. First, a special thanks to my colleagues at the project, many of whom are here tonight. Thanks to our volunteers. Thanks to James and Noah at the AV table, and thanks to Matt who's filming us. If you are a reader and you haven't signed your release, please do so before you leave tonight. Most people here, I'm sure, have been in the building many times. If anyone doesn't recall, the bathrooms are upstairs. If you need an accessible restroom, please ask me or one of my colleagues, and we can let you into the sanctuary. And if you're smoking outside, please smoke in the on the curb rather than in the yard. I think that's everything. So then let me give you the run of show. Tonight's readers will include, in this order, Daniel Kane, Brad Gooch, and Lauterbach, Nicole Wallace, Michael Lally by video, Tyhe Cooper, Keith McDermott, Kyle Dacuyan, Vincent Katz, Mike Funk, Heather Denton, Ann Waldman, and Ron Padgett. Thank you to all the readers. It's a real blessing that you joined us tonight. We're so lucky. As I think probably everybody knows, but a reminder if you don't, as we do with group readings at the project, once you come up here and you read and you're finished, please announce the name written here on the podium of the person who's going to read after you, and they will just come up and begin their reading. And I think that's everything. Thank you again. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And I will turn things over to the editor of Love, Joe, Daniel Kane.
Oh my God. Thank you all so much for coming. This is absolutely overwhelming for me. I might cry, so just be forewarned, okay? First starting off by thanking Kay and the whole team at the Poetry Project. You did this, this is amazing. And thank you to Philip Leventhal, there is the editor at Columbia University Press, and the whole team at CUP. There's an acknowledgement section in the book, which is pages and pages long, so I won't get into all that, but I owe a great debt of gratitude to about 47 people, so check that out. I do want to give a special shout out, though, to Ron Padgett, Ron's support of the project, his faith in it, his enthusiasm about it, and his trust in me, actually, was completely amazing. Very quickly, how the book is organized, okay? I thought it would make sense to organize the book by correspondence, so each section is addressed to a specific individual in Joe's life. I thought that would make sense so readers could get a sort of feel for the specifics of Brainard's relationships. That said, it's also roughly chronological. You get a sense of Joe's life from his high school years. The first letter is written in 1959. The last letter is 1993, shortly before his death. But that said, each correspondent, let's say the first section begins 1959, the second section, I think 61, the third 63, you get the picture, so it's back and forth, back and forth. So his life, as we used to say in the old days, that sense of his life kind of comes in waves, like an accordion style way of arranging it. I hope that makes some sense. The letters were chosen for a variety of reasons, how they reflected Joe's development as an artist and a writer, from his art student beginnings to his work producing assemblages, collages, etc., and then that shift to representational oil painting. You'll also learn a bit about his designing of stage sets, his collaborations, of course, with his many poet friends and beyond. And the hope there is that we get a sense for his variousness, his originality, and his brilliance, let's face it, across a range of media. even as, over the course of the book, we learn about his real insecurities, right, over whether he was good enough, as he would put it in quotation marks, to be a real painter. Check out the sections especially to Fairfield Porter and to Alex Katz to get a sense of his engagement and also struggles with oils. The letters were also chosen for how they evoke the sort of artistic milieu or scene of the times, particularly as that scene intersected with and was informed by an ever more visible queer culture. So we see Brainard as an important writer, as an important artist, of course, during a time when New York was the place, right, where literary and visual arts melded with terrific parties, socializing in bars and bathhouses, gallery openings, uptown soirees, happenings, proto-punk and psychedelic rock concerts, experiment, you get the picture. All that said, like, the letters are great writing. He's a great writer. As I was working on this project, I became totally absorbed by how Brainard's writing style was of a piece with the creative works like I Remember, his Nancy cartoons, the verbal portraits, etc. Part of the Joe legend, and I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have heard this, part of that legend is that he basically retreated from the art world at the end of the 1970s, right? Like that he quit, that he dropped out. What I hope this book does is to show that, in a way, that's not true, right? These letters of Joe's, I think, are art, can be understood as art, a part of a wide-ranging, process-oriented project in which the lines dividing letter from criticism, from phone call, from painting, from life are sort of merrily redrawn. A quick note, you're going to hear a lot of wild stuff tonight, a lot of art world gossip, right? Some real hot porn stuff, and really brilliant insights into the process of art making. What I love all that, of course, but what I also love are these really kind of gentle, mild letters that he wrote to a lot of his friends. Letters that just really show his absolute affection for the everyday, you know? And so I thought it would be good to end with a letter that I read in the Bill Berkson archives in Connecticut. This was the last letter he wrote to Berkson. He knew he was going to die, and Berkson arranged his letters in chronological order, so we know it's the last letter that he got. And it's a really, it's a letter that doesn't have the sort of fireworks that I just described, but I think illustrate what, in a sense, is great about Joe Brainard as a writer. The parentheses, the dashes, the pacing, the way that we feel as we read his letters that we're right there with him, looking over his shoulder and enjoying what he's enjoying. So this is summer 1993 from Calais, Vermont, when he was at where he went to every summer to be with his beloved Kenward Elmsley. Oh, by the way, I totally sobbed when I was reading this in Connecticut. I was like, oh God, this is so beautiful and touching. And I called my wife, I was like, this is the most amazing letter. And she was like, I don't know about that, actually. So, like, you're not beholden to love it. But anyway, dear Bill, let's see. It's Monday morning, just after breakfast. Orange juice, cinnamon roll, banana. And today promises to be a perfect summer day, blue sky, sunny and warm. A rarity this odd and cool summer. So picture me this afternoon out in the middle of the lake, white swimming trunks, floating around on a bright red air mattress, blissed out of my mind. Though, of course, anything could happen between then and now. And really, that's about it for news. I read and sleep and eat, miss you, and time flies. Black beans are soaking in a big bowl of water on the kitchen counter, for supper tonight, with basmati rice and leftover ham and orange jello made from scratch, with maybe heavy cream and blueberries on top, a sprig of mint. And so now you know everything. Happy birthday and lots of love, Joe. Thanks.
And the next reader is Brad Gooch.
I think I met Joe when I was an amanuensis, that we actually use that word, for Kenward Elmsley after I graduated from college, which meant buying beefsteak tartare for lunch and typing up opera libretti. And then I got lent out to Joe, first as a studio assistant. So at that time he was doing a lot of speed, and the Green Street loft was covered with paper, detritus, cardboard that was brought in. And I remember one task was to go and find every piece of this certain shade of scarlet red that I could find in this mess. Then I did nude modeling for Joe, and then I did typing. I was typing up I Remember poems, but they weren't the first ones. They were like more I Remember poems. And then I got a Marilyn Monroe postcard, which you didn't include, which he said, "You're a lousy typist, you're fired. Do you want to have dinner next Wednesday?" So also, Joe then agreed to, Kenward published my first book of poems, the Daily News, and Joe agreed to do a cover. And there's a little mention of that in here. He said, "First off, very much like the new title. Also, I like your vision of cover and will probably in one way or another use it. Though often in the process of doing something, different, unpredictable new ideas pop up. And for me, gift ideas are usually the most exciting. What, especially in work, one tries to hold out for." So my idea was this kind of starry Joseph Cornell sort of cover, medieval cosmic stars. And then the cover Joe did was this, which was sort of close, although he told me it was cum splatter. So that was the gift, the gift idea. I love Joe. I wrote a piece for the St. Mark's Poetry newsletter when he died called St. Joe. So there was a kind of starry-eyed side to our friendship, and there was a kind of cum-splattered side to our friendship. And since you were bold enough to print this letter, I'll be bold enough to read it from 45 years ago from Joe from Vermont. "Dear Brad, I'm writing to you without anything to say, but just because it has been a strange and horny day in which you prominently figure. As Kenward's out of town for a few days, I'm taking advantage of the situation to buck it up, keep strange hours, and eat junk food as I am doing right now. Dinner, a man-pleaser frozen chicken dinner with mashed potatoes, peas and carrots, and an apple tart. All of which is delicious, except that I haven't gotten to the tart yet, but I have faith. At any rate, I've been doing drawings for Gay Sunshine all day, and just want to tell you what a help you've been. You down under that table all day, licking and sucking and eating me all over below my waist, just how I like you best in my fantasies. Cleaning out my asshole, licking my feet, sucking my dick, and hungrily drinking gallons of piss. Your pretty face in my crotch all day, outrageously using you and abusing you. So, thanks a mint, kid." You do it good. Only news is that I've given up sugar and coffee and have taken up exercising and meditation and have gained 15 pounds already. And I'm feeling good about myself and about September. Have given little thought to doing your short story yet, though, but will. I enclose one of many pieces of paper I soaked with piss for you today. And for a major climax, I've got a big zucchini in the oven, which makes for a hot, mushy fuck. We'll be thinking of you. And I'm so fucky horny, you're really going to get it. I suppose this is a silly letter and that I ought to be embarrassed, but I'm not. Well, that's about it for tonight. Hope things are going well for you. We'll write you a more diversified letter soon. And of course, you know I'd love to hear from you, sooner the better. Keep writing those short stories, and please don't think I'm trying to lay a heavy trip on you or anything. Just getting my rocks off, almost fondly, if meanly, because you turn me on that way. With love, Joe." Thanks. The next reader is Ann Lauterbach.
It's funny to come second, because in fact in Joe's life I came later. I didn't meet him until the mid-70s, when I had returned from living in England, and I had been acquainted with Kenward, and Kenward invited me to stay on Greenwich Avenue. So I was on Greenwich Avenue when I met Joe. I can remember this very, very clearly, coming downstairs from the apartment on Greenwich Avenue, and there was Joe Brainard. So that was a kind of, I don't know what that it was, actually, some kind of frisson or something fancy that was just love. So I want to say just a couple of general things, because I was asked by Daniel to say a couple of general things. I think one of the things one wants to say about Joe is that he was really good at living. That was like his main great gift, to living, and art was part of living. I think it's something we forget about artists, that they know, some of them know how to live and some of them don't. He certainly knew how to live. And then he was really good at giving. So he had this great gift of giving. That is to say, he made people whom he loved feel that they were a gift to him. And it was a very interesting kind of reciprocity, which is all through these letters, this sort of sense of his, the intimacy that he understood between one and one and one and one, and was not generalized ever. We're all very particular to him, which is why we're here. And then I guess he just understood the beauty of the ordinary, and that's something that's also very rare. It's a very different kind of thing, the beauty of the ordinary. And so he basically leveled the field in a way that the art world would never really understand what it would mean to level the field. That's the field between living and making art and all the rest. I'll read the, I guess just the first, I spent a lot of time in Calais visiting Kenward and Joe in the summers, not a lot of time, but some summers. And so he often wrote to me from there. This first letter is circa late April or May 1979. And then I guess I want to say this other thing, that he was also an incredible reader. He loved novels. He read lots and lots and lots of novels. And they fed him in some kind of, and he was very discerning about his love it wasn't he loved everything, he loved some things, and he was very careful about that. So you can make him into this kind of person who was easygoing, and that's not true. He was not easygoing. He was particular about things. Okay, enough of that. Sorry. Dear Annie, I was Annie for some people. My silence has nothing to do with your not being on my mind, for sure, as I absolutely have a total crush on you, to the point that I'm beginning to wonder. I'm reading this just because of the previous letter, you understand? You have to understand the great, deep complexity of Joe Brainard. But as sincere as words on paper can be and are, I don't totally trust their realism in actuality, and so I won't indulge in details. The previous letter, details. And then too, as I simply like to flirt so much, it's hard to know for sure. At any rate, I just can't thank you enough again for your part in the party, which without it could not have been. So Joe and I made several parties together, and this one was for Kenward's, I think, 50th birthday at my loft on Duane Street. It was a big deal. We made a big deal of it. And I did so much want to do something really nice for Kenward. And boy, did we evidently do it. I'm still getting cards of thanks and raves. Surely you must be feeling much better physically by now. Hope so mentally, too. Your book jacket is really intriguing, and your photo is enough to die. Now, who did I pick that expression up from, I wonder? Somehow it just doesn't sound like me. Oh, well, only news, if you'll allow me to call it that, is that I've given up coffee and sugar. Not the same date as the last letter, I don't think, and have taken up meditating every morning, resulting only in that I fall asleep a lot in the middle of books so far, as I indeed have relied very heavily on them, sugar and coffee, for the better part of my life. Gee. The other thing to say about these letters is you should look at the punctuation is astonishing. He's so careful about dots and parentheses, and it's just really beautiful. We've forgotten about this attention to these little details. So it's G ... I would love to hear from you a lot if the cookie should so crumble. And don't think I've forgotten my desire to have you come over and pick out a work of mine you like, first thing upon return, I hope, a way of saying thanks and more. Bill Elliott is up here for 2 weeks working with Kenward on the musical version of City Junket. It's being cool today. We're going to build a big fire tonight and have a weenie roast. I hope you know that you'd be more than welcome to come up for a stay anytime the desire to do so strikes you. All you need do is drop a line of when and where to pick you up, and we'll be there. And just speaking for myself now with bells on. Well, I hope you're well and all. And that, if not in the flesh, we'll at least keep in touch via the United States Post Office. Remember that? Before summer zips by into time to return to city life again, be well, take care, if not too much. Good luck with your novel, and know that I love you and miss you, Joe. P.S. Forget-me-nots enclosed, just because I do love them, don't you?
I didn't know Joe, so I'm the first reader who didn't know Joe, but I first experienced or encountered Joe's work when I started at the Poetry Project as an intern a long time ago. And so it's really an honor to be able to share a letter. And thank you, Daniel, for bringing us all together with this book. I also have a little summary to read before I launch into the letter. Quick summary. This letter is addressed to the poet James Schuyler. Schuyler and Brainard were close friends from 1964 onwards. July 4th, 1969, Calais, Vermont. Dear Jimmy, you can't know how nice, really, it was to get your letter. You write such nice letters even when you have nothing in particular to say. I'm outside sunbathing again, and so are Anne and Louis. Kenward is at the cabin. He's writing, but surely nobody writes that much. Yesterday, I sorted out all my oils, lined them up according to colors, and stretched 2 canvases, 18 by 24. I thought I would start painting today, but the sky is so clear and the sun is so hot, and actually, I don't especially feel like it painting. So perhaps tomorrow. But I refuse to rush myself, no reason to except nervous habit, and nervous habit only produces works like I've done before, which doesn't have much to do with painting, as I see it. Or as I think I see it. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anne and Louis are terrific people to live with. Louis, so far, remains just as mysterious, but in a friendly sort of way. Anne is just as nervous as me, which makes me feel not so nervous. We smoke a lot of you-know-what. Talk a lot, eat a lot, play cards, pounce and concentration. Did you ever play that? Concentration? I like it. If you don't know how to play it, let me know and I'll explain it in my next letter. It's very simple, really. We read a bit every night from A Woman's Circle or A Woman's Household, which reminds me, I want to send you some issues. Will soon. Today is the 4th of July. Happy 4th. We here aren't going to celebrate much. As far as I know, except that for dinner we're having a Harrington's ham. There is a 4th of July parade today in East Calais, but I said no thanks to that, which put a damper on going. Nothing is more frightening to me than elks and masons and their children, etc. Besides, I don't enjoy being an outsider. Did I tell you of a funny dream I had several nights ago? I don't think so. At any rate, John Ashbery and I were chatting on my parents' front porch, and John said to me, I think your Mondrian period was even better than Mondrian. Actually, I never had a Mondrian period, but in my dream, I remember recalling the paintings I had done. They were just like Mondrian, except with offbeat colors, like slip peach and plum purple, olive green, etc. At any rate, I was awfully flattered. Frank O'Hara and J.J. Mitchell were there too, but I won't go into that. Other people's dreams are never as interesting as it seems they ought to be to other people. Your advice is good. I do eat a lot of nuts, and I have been trying to eat as much as possible. Actually, getting better looking will probably only get me into more trouble and make life more complicated. If I was wise, I wouldn't even try. But once again, pardon the oil on this letter. It does help, though, and a warm shower afterwards. I'm enclosing for you some button-faced note cards that I sent away from the Women's Circle. They're very funny, I think. Kenward and I have both been sending away for lots of stuff in order to get mail. Kenward has got lots of seeds. I got a forget-me-not necklace like Grandma used to make, which is somewhat of a disappointment. Also, I got some crocheted butterflies, which I gave to Kenward in celebration of the first day of July. They'll be sewn onto curtains. I also got some music postcards with music on them, and some stars you glue to the ceiling, and they glow in the dark, like decals. I put them up in Anne and Louis's room, and they like them. Someday it would be nice to do a whole ceiling. Also available is a friendly moon. I just went for a Pepsi. It is now 1 o'clock. This afternoon, I think I'll get out my Polaroid and see what happens. Maybe we can swap pictures, like those clubs do, of a less intimate nature, of course. In your next letter to me, would you please sign your name, your autograph on a piece of white paper? I'm beginning to put together my poet's scrapbook, and your autograph would be a big boom. Or a drawing. I have drawings already by Ron and Ted and Frank and Kenward. I also have many photos and clippings and wedding announcements, etc. It'll be a nice book that will never end. The sun is really very hot today. Now I'm sunning my back. This will be my first all-around tan since I was a kid. Kenward is doing pretty well too, though his skin doesn't tan as fast as mine. Obviously, I'm running out of talk. We'll stop now. Do write again when you feel like it. Love, Joe. P.S. Ann and Louis City News. John Giorno and Jasper Johns are back together again. Pat and Ron leave for Tulsa this Monday for 1 week, then 3 weeks traveling around California. John Wiener's parents had him committed, but a plan is being worked out to get him out. Dialogue Poem will continue next year from the St. Mark's Church. Bill Berkson has moved. His new address is 107 East 10th Street. Dee Dee Ryan has been promoted to assistant producer and now is actually in the movie. That's about it. Again, love, Joe.
Hey, my name's Michael Lally. I first encountered Joe in 1972 when I was living in D.C. and read the first versions of I Remember and fell in love not just with the writing, but with the writer. Joe and I were the same age, born in 1942, so when we first got together in 1973, we were turning 31. I moved up to New York in 75, so our correspondence after that was limited to his summers in Vermont. This is a letter he wrote me in June from Vermont, 1977. Dear Michael, up above the house where the woods begin is where I'm at, lounging on a nice mixture of grass and soft pine needles, thinking of you. And so is my dick, if you get my drift. Would you believe that in 3 weeks, I've only jacked off 4 times? What's wrong with me? Once, however, was rather extraordinary. I came inside my bathing suit with just a slight bit of exterior cross out, fuck, friction, still spelled wrong. And the stuff came pouring down my left leg onto my foot in one long stream, a bit like being 12 years old again somehow. Though, why that seems good to me, I don't know. Them were not the days. At any rate, I can honestly say that I wish you were here. Though rather unlike me, for starters, I wish you were here messing around with my asshole with your fingers until it gets real moist and drive one in and way up. Then 2, I'd like to see you leaning up against a tree with your pants around your legs, both hands on your meat, dying for me to get up and come over and suck it. Just licking and sucking on your head until you can't stand it anymore, not to ram it in, so we can both feel the whole hot length of it. Then he takes a break, indicated by a line across the page. And when he comes back, he writes, would you believe only 5 times in 3 weeks? Which, however, is not the real reason for such an abrupt ending to the above scene. There was an animal felt by my feet to be considerably larger than an insect as it scurried across them, flash, into some busy bushes. Visually, a large brown streak, I'd almost swear. So I casually got up and ran into the house. At any rate, reality aside, I hope you don't feel as though I skipped town without saying goodbye. I always find them embarrassing. Goodbyes. They lead nowhere. And September is always sooner than one thinks, yes? Well, I hope you're happy and well and not too hot. Summer, so far, has been nothing but books. Virginia Woolf, Turgenev, Henry James, Muriel Spark, Thomas Hardy, etc. Hello and love to Miles. And to you, Joe. Miles was my then 8-year-old son, who I began single parenting when he was 5 and continued to till he left home. Joe was very fond of him, as he was of Joe.
I was too late to know Joe, but I feel like I do, which is unfair of me, really. But I'm really grateful to Daniel for doing the work that created this room, and for Joe for living the life that did. I'm what I found out tonight Ron calls a fanatic of Joe, which I think is fair. And I'm going to be reading a letter that Joe wrote to Robert Butts, who was also a fanatic, so I think it's fitting. Here's a summary that Daniel wrote. Robert Butts, one of Brainard's collectors, played an outsized role in Brainard's life in the 1970s and 1980s. Very little is known about him beyond the fact that he was a shy, gay man living in the suburbs of Los Angeles. All the more charming, then, to witness the affection and friendship Brainard offered him. And this is from June 20th, 1978 in Calais. Dear Robert, well now, I loved your letter. Thanks really ever so much. I feel I know you a whole lot better now, and that's a pleasure. And thank you especially also for the beautiful lyric. I love it too, and not even remotely embarrassed, so you ought not to be either. And aside from just liking it for itself, it's a very generous compliment, and I thank you for that too. Really, you know, any feelings in the realm of the positive ought to be glorified in, and I can't think of a better way than in sharing them. Can you? Well, that's how I feel. And while thanking you, let me thank you also for the money and the little books. Money, well, you know money, i.e. slurp. And as for the little books, well, you know I like little books. Best of everything, however, is your letter, which told me more about you than you've ever done before, and I really do appreciate that. I think, probably, you expect too much of your encounters, however. Really, it seems to me that an encounter with another person is an exciting experience in itself, just for having done it. Of course, some will be disappointing. Some will even probably be distasteful. But, obviously, the more chances you take, the better your chances are of meeting really interesting people and possibly falling in love, or at least having some fun, which is certainly not to be sneezed at, right? But, of course, if you feel like cooling it for a while, you ought to cool it for a while, just because that's how you feel. Surely it is the most exciting and demanding way to live by, your feelings. And whenever and however you can live up to this, I'd shove all other considerations rapidly aside and indulge for the pure sake of indulging and learning to indulge. Because, as I'm sure you know, it's not all that easy. And I can assure you that nobody needs this advice I'm giving you more than I do. And this is rather important, I think, from personal experience, I can absolutely guarantee you that the only things one eventually regrets are the things one didn't do. Sure, you risk fucking up a lot, falling on your face, etc. Speaking here just for myself, though, it's not really that bad. In fact, what I find with age is that the more I can allow myself to appear foolish, the more I can actually admire myself. Which is certainly not to say that I'm able to allow myself this luxury very often, alas. But hopefully, someday. It is a quality I admire very much in John Ashbery, though indeed not all do. And I also appreciate it of him, because it tends to lend you the same liberty, that of being quite frankly and openly human, a great relief. All of which is just to say that I'm delighted with your efforts and inspired by them too. And I know they are forever worth making, hard though they may be, and usually are. So, if you're not patting yourself on the back a bit, let me do so for you. Your lyric might make me uncomfortable if I thought that your feelings for me made you unhappy or what have you, but somehow I don't. Though I don't know why, and then too, feelings are forever changing. I'm just glad and flattered that they are in the area of strong. Speaking for myself again, I am always grateful for such feelings of my own, regardless of frustrations. And I hope you do too. Well now, how I feel now is that I ought to spill a few beans for you. But the actual truth of the matter is that life right now for me is pretty and predictably obvious. My feelings about Kenward are always rather fuzzy and undefinable. That we are very good friends is obvious. Beyond that, I never know for sure myself. Though, of course, I love him very much as the person I know best in the world. And that's a strong tie. But otherwise, one's sex life in the country is very much confined to a lot of jacking off, which, of course, is fun too, though it doesn't leave one with much to say about it, other than echoes of pant, pant, and splat, splat. And I can't help but feel that the drama in my life over work problems and those of not liking myself very much right now could be anything but plain boring, even if they were so figure-outable as to be able to write about them. So I can offer but a small return for now, with lots of affection, though. And very soon, I'll be sending you a portfolio of visuals that appeared in a little California magazine called Little Caesar. Just waiting for my copies to arrive. If there are any mysterious areas in my life to you, why not write me a letter of questions to answer? And I'll do the same to you. Till then, love you, Joe. And the next reader will be Keith McDermott.
I just want to say congratulations, Daniel. It's a wonderful selection, and I'm really proud to have my letters from Joe in their selection. I also want to take this opportunity to express gratitude, though I feel like he's going to hate to hear it, to Ron Padgett for shepherding Joe's legacy as both an artist and a dear friend with such love and wisdom. It's, I think, a balm for all of us who love Joe, and to see the generations who have discovered him, are discovering him, and will discover his humble genius. And I also have personal gratitude to Ron and Pat for their kindness to me during Joe's sickness and after his death. So I met Joe at Kenward's 50th birthday party that Anne was talking about earlier. I didn't know Joe or Kenward. And Joe and I met and had a 15-minute conversation, which was, there was lots of electricity going on. And then he went away to Vermont, and we began writing letters. And then we were going to meet when he got back, but I'm an actor, and I went out of town with a show, and so we had an epistolatory relationship for 6 months, before our first date. Then we were lovers, and that's the best word for it. We were really in love with each other for about 9 years, but they always had these separations of Vermont, many holidays, stuff like that, his life with Kenward. So I have many letters from Joe, close to 200, but that may be just in my mind. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to read you the first letter he wrote me after that meeting at Kenward's party, and a real short letter, but I'll tell you what that is when I read it. And since I'm a method actor, I'm going to use his actual letters to read from. Dear Keith, that felt good, writing your name down for the first time. Thanks a mint, kid, and I do mean it. Showered and shaved. I'll keep together, just one breath. Showered and shaved, my favorite jeans on, late afternoon in Vermont, drinking a Campari and soda, smoking a cigarette, and writing a letter to you in a little heart with lines coming out of it. Boy, do I feel lucky, exclamation mark. Can't tell you how much your address, parentheses, a lot, has been burning a hole in my pants or pocket all this time, which is actually only a little over a week, 9 days, of feeling a whole lot different and a whole lot better. But let me tell you now, right now, that I'm not about to lay any heavy trip on you. I'm just glad and grateful for what you have already given me, which is a much longer story than I'll probably ever tell you, except to say that I've had a, quote, thing for you, the way before I even knew what you looked like or anything, which is pretty weird, really, as I'm a pretty down-to-earth man. And then seeing you on the stage. He saw me in a Christopher Isherwood, Don Bachardy play called Meeting by the River. We closed on opening night. And then seeing you on stage, such a bright, clear light, only reinforced my feelings. And then seeing you at the party, well, it flipped me out so much I can't even recall the experience. Hard as I've tried to savor it, and have savored the few fragments I've been able to, quote, find, such as your eyes looking directly at me, your light blue sweatshirt sleeves pushed up to the elbow, and a vague sense of your arms, such clear skin, stretched over the pulsating veins of an animal, alive, I would just so much have liked to touch, and of telling you how pretty you are, how pretty I found you and find you, and being rather embarrassed for having said it so crudely, and wondering if, as I'm sure everyone must say that to you, it might be boring for you to hear that, question mark. Hard as it is for me to imagine that could ever be true. And then somehow, before I knew it, you were gone. And then when having dinner with Ed White, and Chris Cox, when Ed told me that you liked me, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, well, you have been beautifully on my mind ever since, though I didn't dare inquire as to what like meant. As, for starters, just that in itself is more than enough to allow me to bravely and sheepishly ask Ed for your address so I could send you a postcard, which in fact I am doing, enclosed, one that I especially like and especially hope that you will too. It's based on a French myth similar to our explanation of where our babies come from, the stork, that babies grow in vegetable gardens, most commonly out of heads of lettuce and or cabbage. And the only reason I have waited so long in writing to you, although I have been doing it in my head a lot, is that I haven't been feeling too good due to a new, healthy thing I'm on. And here we're going to get to the bottom of the coffee thing. Due to Anne Waldman, a terrific poet and one of my very best friends, who recently zipped through town in her usual but glamorous manner, convincing me that I'd feel a lot more, quote, steady if I'd lay off the tons of sugar and coffee I've always consumed. And so I gave them up. And so for the past week, I've been able to do little of anything but sleep and read. I'm finally feeling a bit more alert, though I've yet to experience the promised, quote, high from having done so. That, plus meditating for 1 hour every morning in hopes of acquiring a bit more patience, and in hopes, too, of simply thinking things out a bit more, as I tend to try to do everything all at once, as opposed to being more selective, throwing all my focus and energy into that, a single thing at a time. As at this point in my life, I do feel the need of that. I'm a ripe 37, though not all that ripe. At any rate, as I'm sure I told you, and aside from my fixation, I thought you were very good in the play. Would love to have seen you, though, in an earlier version of the play I saw years ago, in which your part was longer and more integrated with the plot. As in a recent letter from Don Bacardi, he said he and Chris now feel was a mistake, too, to have isolated your presence so compactly. But God, compared to most theater I see, I thought it was terrific and was surprised it didn't have at least a tiny run. Weren't you? No. As much as I'd love to go on, I don't really trust myself and think I maybe ought to wait until I hopefully hear from you. Want a pen pal? Before I ... whatever. One thing first, though. I really have my heart set on this. I hope I can get you over to paint when I come back come September, as I know you would inspire me. Parentheses, yes, I believe in inspiration, exclamation mark. And I really need that, to say nothing of being able to really look at you in the way only painting someone allows. So do think about this, if just for me, will you? I hope this letter doesn't have too much bullshit in it. Sometimes I don't know anymore. But if so, it's just because I want to impress you, of course. I've gained 5 pounds already. Just want so much to get back to healthy and ambitious and capable of real fun. And you could help me a lot, if you feel like it, by just, in whatever way, responding. And shit, I'll do anything for you, too. So, I think before I get mushy, I'll just end abruptly and cross fingers. Thank you, and lots of love, Joe. And I'm going to read this very short one he wrote to my mother. Okay. Her name's Ray. Dear Ray, although Ray seems a bit too familiar, Mrs. McDermott seems much too formal. So, ... I'm writing just to let you know how much I enjoyed your cake and lemon sauce. Really, they were both very much enjoyed and appreciated. Thank you. I hope you don't find my presence it's so strange after so long to still get so moved by this, but I hope you don't find my presence in Keith's life too embarrassing. Of course, I'm sure you'd rather he have a girlfriend. What mother wouldn't? But on the other hand, I hope you agree with me that any form of Love and affection can't be all bad. At any rate, you can rest assured that Keith has a good and reliable friend in me. As I hear you, in me, period. As I hear you may be stopping over in New York on your way to England, perhaps I'll get to see you again soon. Love, Joe. P.S. This letter is so tardy in arriving because I addressed the envelope wrong. Thank you.
The first spring that I worked at the Poetry Project, I spent the weekend of Joe Brainard's birthday reading all of his work and listening to any recordings of his that I could find. And when I came back to the office and was talking with my colleagues about our weekends and they asked what I'd been up to, I said I just was with Joe Brainard's work. I felt him really with me, and everything in the office shut off. It made like a sound, the printers and the lights and the computers. And he's just always been someone who, whose presence I feel lingers here really beautifully and benevolently. And it's such a gift to have these letters, to overhear the way he talked to the people who he loved. It's very wonderful to have many of those people here. So I've been asked to read a little summary before this letter that he wrote to John Giorno. In 1969, Joe Brainard wrote to the poet and artist John Giorno, who had written requesting that he, quote, make more drawings of dirty sex, piss drinking, shit eating, a hand up someone's ass, whips, etc. Also, a series of drawings of sex in a moon-orbiting spaceship using Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins. July 18th, 1969, from Calais, Vermont. Dear John, it was good to hear from you. Painting not going so well, so I've been drawing a lot and reading a lot, sunning, and taking lots of naked photos of myself. I don't really think that I am such a narcissist, but I do find it very exciting, as you can see from some I have enclosed. Hope you like them. I have taken literally hundreds, and there is not much one can do with them. I keep thinking that soon I will get bored, but not yet. It's a very expensive habit, but fun. As for the Black Gear comic, Anne is bringing it to you when she comes to visit. As for a comic of two boys fucking and sucking, that sounds great to me. I would rather, though, do the drawings in a more serious and realistic way, more beautiful than the drawing for Anne and Kenward's reading, which was a fake primitive style I couldn't keep up for very long. Nor would I especially want to. But I will send you some fuck-suck drawings soon, and I think you will like them. I have begun already, and they are, to me, very sexy, but not at all funny. Is this okay? Thank you for the matchbook, which I love. It has gone already into my book, scrapbook, about of poets, clippings, manuscripts, photos, etc., and announcements and autographs. By the way, if you should write me again, will you sign your name on a piece of paper? This is such a sweet, frequent request. Auto for the book, art type, sounds fine for Black Gear. Draw in the balloons too if you want to, or just anything you want to do. And if you need more drawings, or any drawing in particular, let me know. I sure am easy to work with. Feel free even to draw over or add to my drawings, if you wish. Right now, I'm reading that new Marilyn Monroe book. I love it. Today is not a terrific day. Cloudy, gray, and not sun. And too buggy. So I am inside. I can't think of any news. I'll be sending you some fuck-suck drawings soon. In the meantime, if you feel like it, write hello, love, and more to Anne, if she is there yet. Take care. Love, Joe. And the next reader is Vincent Katz.
Hello. Thank you to Daniel. This is an amazing editing job, just really spectacular book. And just wanted to mention also Joe's handwriting, which is really beautiful. I mean, there's some on the front cover, but all his letters were written, except for a couple of early ones, I guess, in all caps. And there are some pages actually reproduced in here. So my dad couldn't make it tonight, but I asked him earlier, if he had made it, what he might have wanted to say about Joe, and he said that he was the most generous person he knew by far. He was just incredible, and I can verify that too, and I think many other people who knew him, everyone who knew him. He once wrote me a letter that's not in this book, a little later on. I'd started writing poetry, and I guess I must have sent him some, and he said probably something like, "Thank you for your, what you sent me. But I have a question. Do you really want to be a writer?" Probably in quotes, in the sense of having your life totally based around that. And it's something I think about, honestly, until today, frequently. So he was he had this seemingly breezy style, but very deep at the same time. July 10th, 1967, 49 South Main Street, Southampton, New York. Dear Ada, Alex, and Vincent. Ada, it was wonderful to receive your postcard, which for some reason made me feel absolutely great. We don't get mail around here until 4 or so. It was really good to hear from you. Hint, hint. Today, I painted 4 white roses, speckled with red, in a purple, almost black goblet on a white table. I'm especially proud of the greens. They are extremely accurate, which, at the moment, is what I'm interested in, accuracy. I have finally decided what to do for Frank's poem, Blocks, a volcano. A volcano is in the poem, and I know that he especially liked volcanoes. And the tone of the poem is that of excitement, so it seems perfect. I've been busy collecting source material. Most volcanoes, I've discovered, don't really look like volcanoes. They look very abstract and what is it? At least that's how they look in photographs. I've never seen one. Today is a beautiful day. Today I painted red and white and yellow and pink roses in a wine glass with a pepper mill and a crystal salt dish and a vinegar bottle and 6 cherries. Today, I tried to be dashing, and indeed, I succeeded. Unfortunately, I don't like it. But, like I said, I'm learning a lot. I would love to hear, Alex, what you are doing. Kenward is sunbathing. Jimmy is still asleep. He reads most all night some nights, so we only have 12 more days here. I guess the summer will be over very fast. It's off to a good start, a fast start, which actually is more than a start. So I may be seeing you sooner than I think, and perhaps really sooner if you come, I hope, to Vermont. Pat and Ron and Wayne will be there too, so see you soon. Love, Joe. P.S. I went inside to pee, and Jimmy is up and says hello. And I'll read one more, short one. August 1967, Calais, Vermont. Dear Ada and Alex and Vincent, as usual, Ada, it was great to receive your card. Ron gets most of the mail up here. Absolutely nothing is new that I can tell you about, except that Rock Hudson bought a house only a few miles from Calais. I've yet to see him, though. Everyone is downstairs reading the Sunday Times. Wayne is practically walking by now. Mostly we eat corn, as it is in season now, and very good and sweet. The past 2 days, including today, have been rainy and damp and cold. It feels like autumn, and actually, it's a nice feeling. Mostly, I have just been goofing off, doing a small red garden, all anemones, and a small yellow garden, all daffodils, and a small white garden, all daisies. Last night, Pat and Kenward went to see The Sound of Music and cried. Ron typed, I don't know what, and me, I read Hard Rain Falling, a dirty, cheap novel. Actually, it wasn't very good, and it wasn't even very dirty. The Museum of Modern Art asked me to do a Christmas card for 1968. That made me happy. I hope you all will be able to come by. We will be here until the 3rd or 4th, I think, of September. Got a postcard from John Ashbery from California. He and Pierre are there. I never took French, only Spanish. Ada, I'm working on a new prose piece of little-known facts about people, and I was wondering if you would fill me in on the facts about your research work. I'd also like to know what both of you wanted to be when you were kids. So, perhaps, I hope, we'll be seeing you very soon, and if not, it will be very soon anyway, because September is not very far away. I'm looking forward to that, seeing you all. Love, Joe. And the next reader is Mike Funk.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm also a little bit late for Joe, unfortunately, but it's really been an honor and privilege to hear all of you share about your lives and communications with Joe. And thank you, Daniel, for putting this work into the world. I really can't wait to read it. So, all right, thank you. All right, so here's a quick summary of the letter I'm about to read. This letter is addressed to the poet Bill Berkson and includes Brainard's opinions about the painter Barnett Newman. August 1969, Calais, Vermont. Dear Bill, when I wrote you that last letter, I knew that as soon as I mailed it, I would receive a letter from you. I was right. It was so good to hear from you, really. Did I ever thank you, really, for the Judy Garland record? I have not played it yet, and I'm not going to play it until I move into my new place with my new record player. Thank you very much for it. It is my first record. I worked this morning on a photo album cartoon with Kenward. It is just like a photo album, only the photos talk. I don't know about my dream of life. It seems good to me, but if you want to continue it, that is fine with me too. I hate to be so wishy-washy, but I think you know by now that I don't use my brain very much, a fact I'm not proud of. I think collaborating works with me because I respect poetry, which has nothing to do with understanding it. For several days after you left, I kept setting the table for 3. No, Anne Waldman has not told me about it. I assume it means she is having an affair, ? I am curious. Don't tell me about it, though, unless you want to. Gossip is not really that bad, is it? People don't take gossip that seriously, and the only people that gossip is interesting about is people you care for. So being gossiped about, in my book, is somewhat of a compliment. I am sure you know the affair I had last year. Frankly, I rather enjoyed the fact that people were talking about it. Everyone likes, I assume, to be talked about. Good or bad, it's all the same, really, just talk. Which has nothing to do, really, with the people involved. I don't know why I'm trying to sell you on gossip. Yes, I will certainly see the de Koonings. I felt a little stab in my heart when you said that you liked the Newman. I admit he is good, but he is everything I don't believe in. I wish I could explain how much I hate him, but I can't. It is not his work itself I detest. It is everything he stands for. If I ever turn into a real painter, I will be a total reaction from him, in the totally opposite direction. I cannot read a word he writes anymore as it makes me so mad. Art is not God, art is not that serious, and art is not that boring and snotty and stupid, etc. See what I mean? I don't really think it is fair to judge a painter by what he says, but, and this is preceded by many lines, just straight lines across the page, but really, he is to me a total pain in the ass. I'm sorry I cannot explain exactly why. He has just explained exactly why. All I know is that, to me, if art has an enemy, it is Barnett Newman. He is like death to me. Well, I'm going to try and write some questions now. I just finished My Life by Isadora Duncan, her autobiography. Although I didn't really believe a word of it, and I think she thought she was telling the truth, and I suppose that is all one can ask for. But I did enjoy reading it, though I am not recommending it. Actually, it was total cornball, but like I said, she was so sincere about it all. Do right, love, Joe. P.S. Did I tell you that Mrs. Kent died? She was so old. Thank you. Thank you. Heather Denton will be up next. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kay, for inviting me tonight. Thank you, Daniel, for putting together this book. This is wonderful. Joe Brainard is wonderful. I did not know him. I was a few years too late, like a couple of us. Oh, thank you. A little too tall for Joe, too. I first discovered him in the Montclair Public Library. It was a book of his collected writings. And I read that comic, People of the World Relax, which is just good advice. Anyway, this is a summary of a letter he wrote to Alice Notley. In 1991, Joe Brainard wrote to the poet Alice Notley, who was then editing a magazine called Scarlet. As Daniel writes in his introduction to this section, Brainard's contributions to Scarlet, minimalist accounts of his dreams, which are as captivating and charming as anything Brainard wrote, show how Brainard continued to work creatively even as AIDS further weakened his body. September 24th, 1991, 8 Green Street, New York City. Dear Alice, only 3 dreams made it down on paper this summer. As to if they are of any interest, I leave that to you. Fall is very much here. And the city calls, October 1st, just in time to hear Ron at the church. Will you be there? See you, if not then, hopefully soon. Love, Joe. P.S. Love to Doug and a bit of money, just in case. Last night in my dreams, I found myself falling down a grand staircase in a fancy hotel when a cute bellboy came to my rescue, helped me to my feet and whispered in my ear, "Remember Mary McCarthy." Which reminded me this morning that I hadn't read Memories of a Catholic Girlhood in a long time, so I am, and it's awfully good, really. Last night in my dreams, Tom Carey, delivering a sermon in a large international airport terminal, announced that he had a message from Tim Dlugos. Everyone gathered in close with anticipation. Tim wants everyone to know that he's doing fine. A bit disappointing, though better than nothing, I suppose. It was great to see Frank O'Hara again in my dreams last night, and looking so good for someone in the advanced stages of AIDS. I asked him how he was feeling, and he said something non-committal like, "Oh, pretty good." I was a bit surprised to realize I didn't have any clothes on, except for a pair of black leather gloves, and I guess he didn't either have any clothes on, because the next thing I knew, my black leathered fingers were toying with his nipples, a totally mechanical gesture on my part, but hopefully a turn-on for him. Meanwhile, he was asking me about my trip to Venice. Had I liked it? Yes. And did I want to go back? Not really. And he said, this is good, not even for a particular painting or a special sauce? Anyway, thank you all so much.
The next reader is Anne Waldman.
Thank you so much, and for putting this book together, Daniel. It's amazing what I've read of it. Thank you, Ron. We continue. So where to begin? I'm wearing my, how do you pronounce it? Loewe Joe Brainard. People were saying, what's this Halloween costume you're wearing? I said, well, I'm trying to be a garden or something, garden for Joe. And I'm wearing my, as I have for many decades, 2 rings from Joe, my snake, entangled snakes with little diamonds and rubies. So it's interesting in this long life of knowing him, just that, there are people are floating through, as they always are, with our lives and our emotional states. He got me through so much. I've never really even talked about it, but so grateful how he sustained me in the greatest heartbreak and moving to Boulder, Colorado to get on with this wild Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics was not being in the same town as Joe. That was the hardest part, but it was also, he kept me going in terms of all I was following, and his death was really hard, and I saw him shortly before he died, and that was very important. But anyway, I'm going to sort of trace through a couple of the things around his I Remember, and that was a difficult time. Louis and I had separated, Louis Warsh, and we decided to do separate projects. We had been doing Angel Hair magazine and books together, which was an amazing marriage of inspiration and love and, incredible work that we enjoyed so much together. And we parted and came back as terrific friends after some time. And we decided just to keep Angel Hair going, keeping the name going. We'd started other ventures, other magazines. He was doing United Artists. I was doing a whole bunch of different names, for different projects, different little publishing things you could found in a night. But in any case, I Remember, the 3 books around that extraordinary classic work, I remember, more and more I remember, and along with continuing to publish him, I always loved and appreciated his work. That was also so sustaining. But anyway, that was a time when it was somehow hard not to have that other kind of companionship around the publishing venture. And Louis and I would let each other know what we were doing, but Angel Hair is very proud to have been the first publisher. And I didn't have, money was a little tough, and Joe made that clear. And we never thought about things being like vanity press in those days. You could just slip a few bucks and somebody will publish your work. So it was a true collaboration of, and what he wanted to do. I mean, he was really behind this. So just to say that, and something about his show. I'm just looking at the intro. Okay. May 1969, Calais, Vermont. Dear Anne, it's funny that you should mention Gertrude Stein. I'm still reading her on the toilet, and I still find her very difficult. And I was thinking how great it would be to hear Gertrude Stein out loud. And I was thinking how great it would be to have a Gertrude Stein reading where everyone read out loud their favorite thing by her. I am finding it difficult to write. I've been out in the sun all day. I hope I am making sense. I'm inside now, and I feel like I am in a big shadow. And I cannot seem to write in sentences, but only in words. I feel like I am a stranger. Well, it was great to hear from you, really, and really. I'm going to be seeing you so soon that I don't really want to say anything. I just wanted, I'm picking up now, to tell you about how I think a Gertrude Stein reading would be exciting. Of course, we had, later, big Gertrude Stein reading all-night reading at the church, all-day reading. I wanted to thank you for your letter, and I just want for my presence to be felt once more before it actually is. I will be back either the 6th or the 7th. You can be sure that there will be room for your flowers. Certain flowers now are having a revival. But I'm way up these days over a piece I am still writing called I Remember. I feel very much like God writing the Bible. I mean, I feel like I am not really writing it, but that is because of me that it is being written. I also feel that it is about everybody else as much as it is about me, and that pleases me. I mean, I feel like I am everybody, and it's a nice feeling. It won't last, but I am enjoying it while I can. One thing that I realize is that losing a penny when you are just one is just as serious as is there a God? When you are 12 is just as serious as what am I going to do when you are 27? If only I was smart as I really am. If only I was as smart as I really am. In the back of my mind, I am a little bit afraid that, and sadly, the remainder of the letter is missing. I keep thinking, knowing it might show up, along with a angry letter from Ted Berrigan. We'll see. Okay, so moving on a little bit. January 9th, 1970. My head is heavy, it's snowing outside, and I'm listening to Janis Joplin. I've always known that someday I would have music, and I'm glad I waited. I need it now, just to be sure. I had fun at the party last night. I took a pill, drank a lot, smoked a lot of hash, and I did have fun until about 2 o'clock. At 2, I really conked out in the bed. All I remember after that is a lot of wet kisses from various people saying goodbye. As I couldn't open my eyes, it was fun guessing who they was. Clarice Rivers, I could tell, and J.J. Mitchell and Scott. The other people I don't know. It was fun for a change being on bottom, I mean not on top, under the weather, or what have you. I guess I'm just a little bit in love with being able to make a fool of myself, which you understand is different from being a fool, but all the possibility is there. I just don't like myself for covering it up, so it was nice not to cover it up. I did wake up until noon, and my head was really in a mess, and it still is. Like I said, heavy. Although the party was fun, it was not too fun, because you and Bill, I'm sorry, also, although the party was fun, it was not fun too, because you and Bill Berkson and Ron and Pat were not there, and because 2 people I have crushes on but can't have were there. And then it goes on a bit, and it goes down to, I published something called 3 American Tantrums by Michael Brownstein, who just passed recently. And I'll just cut to that. I'm anxious to read and see 3 American Tantrums. I'm serious too, for I remember. I think that the best thing to do is to just send it out and not worry about the cost. I am sure I can manage it. Party events. Tony Toll got very drunk and started insulting everyone, especially blah, 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 blah. Irma found blah, blah, blah. Kenward found Kenneth Koch necking, I don't know where I got that word, with his Kenward's half-sister's girlfriend. And Kenward also found Tony. Anyway, this goes on. You just don't miss, you're not missing too much. The food was good. Dee Dee arrived with, I assume, a new boyfriend. Joan Fagan curled her hair all up. It looked good. I got all dressed up, but I didn't feel like it, so I got undressed in a navy blue turtleneck and blue jeans. Very interesting. I must be running out of things to say. John Ashbery got very drunk. Kenneth Koch was on. A few dances with Clarice, and that was that. I wish you had been here. I wish you were here. And then he goes down. My bell just rang. Nobody came. Must have been a kid. It was really good to hear from you. Write me again soon. Take care. Miss you. Love you, Joe. And I need you. And then Giant Night, he mentions doing a cover. That was the other thing. Again, his extraordinary generosity, and with his work, all the flyers he did for the Poetry Project and other places, covers. You could always just walk in and he'd be working on something that you had asked for, or he was doing it on the spot. And that was amazing. That we should just have a show of all those things around, the Poetry Project would be great. Okay, have you seen your cover yet? I like it. I hope you do. The skyline now is more realistic and more New York City. The stars are smaller and more realistic too. When the cover is printed in purple, it will be a real knockout, I promise. I am, you guessed it, out in the sun. The sun, however, is not right at this moment. I'm wearing the purple tie-dye bathing suit you gave me. I just don't quite remember that. I'm wearing the purple tie-dye bathing suit you gave me, like it a lot. And he actually writes wanting more bathing suits like this in different colors. Well, I don't smoke anymore. Do you believe it? I don't, but it's true. I don't smoke anymore, and coffee is not the same. I just started drinking coffee for the first time. So Jimmy is here, John Ashbery's new birth. Anyway, I hear a snake in the grass. Okay, let me just jump down to something more with the book. Early summer 1971. So we've started in 69, 70. We're still in the I remember zone. New York City, dear Anne. I can't believe it, but I remember is finally finished. I've never worked so hard on a piece before. Hope it doesn't show. Now, what to call it? I remember, number 2, or I remember more I remember, or question mark. I feel just terrible. When I woke up this morning, my eyes wouldn't open, my eyelashes were glued together with yellow stuff, my nose full of snot, and my throat sore and swollen. So I took a pill and put on sunglasses, and here I am, feeling better, but terrible. Partly bought a gold Chinese bracelet the other day because I couldn't get it off, partly because I probably would have bought it anyway, even if I could have gotten it off. How about red words on the cover this time? How about dropping the I stuff for the cover and not have it say, simple quote, this is in parens, simple drawing of face and torso with the title, Joe Brainard Remembers More, centered above the figure's head. I don't know. Thank you for your something to receive letter, always a pickup to hear you, to know you were there, to know you care, and to know that I care. You care very much. I'm going to leave for California with next to nothing behind, selling some books and paintings and objects and giving a lot of stuff away. Wish you were here to give to, but I guess you need stuff right now about as much as I do, about as much as anybody does. And then jumping down to July 29th, 1971, about the new IR. So we're talking about the I remember more I remember more, which is how it came out. Out in the sun for only a second, Vermont time this year. Just this moment got settled. And guess who wants out? The dog. Well, he'll have to wait. Sometimes I think he enjoys it anyway. The wanting part of wanting in or out must be a pretty strange life. Thanks for writing back so soon. Yes, mail is great, and especially slurp your mail about the new IR. Jimmy and Kenward, and now me too, think that more I remember is best. I don't have the other photo with me, and actually it relates to the first IR anyway, me informal. That is the one you meant, isn't it? I do think it would be nice to have the cover words in red this time, don't you? As for the type, how to fit on photo, I would offhand suggest this. Simple drawing on the left side of the page of a face and torso with the words More I Remember by Joe Brainard centered on the figure's shirt. On the right-hand side of the page, Brainard writes right across my shirt. So we studied that. And then anyway, he wants this other project. He's trying to get people to do a series of letters. And there was one last tiny little bit. May 1933, Callis. Terrific, you were back so soon, drinking a cup of coffee, smoking a cigarette, the sun just came out, but not for long, I'm sure. A bit more work on The Last I Remember. That's the latest title. And on this one, I'm in no hurry. It's got to be the best, I feel, or nothing at all. And the best at this stage is my head is going to take lots of digging. As for sending you a copy of More I Remember More, I haven't got one. Just before I left the city, I chopped it down to the bone again and had Trevor Wingfield type it up for me. Then I added a bit more stuff and sent it off to Bill, who said he would have his printer do it. Still is an angel hair book, though, of course. And so that is where it is now, which reminds me of your book, and that I'm dying to see it, have it. Kenward is out planting stuff, and I'm upstairs at the big round table for a reason a bit depressed. And one more moment. So this is September 1990. I had sent him a little questionnaire, and these were the questions. He says, it's a chilly Sunday morning. Now let me see if I can answer your questions. What was your first sexual encounter like? An out-of-body experience. I was extremely naive and modest and self-conscious, and so it was quite a shock to find myself naked, no clothes on, in bed with an older woman, her hand manipulating my cock. Of course, I had had hard-ons and wet dreams before, but it had never occurred to me that you could make it happen. So like I said, I was too self-conscious to be much more than an observer, a totally embarrassing experience, though I felt proud of myself, cocky afterward. And then I asked, what was your relationship to your father like? Undemonstrative affection and total embarrassment. And did you have any role models as a child? Only Jesus. What character, mythological, fictional, actual, such as in the movies, do you remember identifying with at any particular point in your life? This is hard because I find it extremely easy to identify with anybody. I have always felt an enormous amount of empathy and had an affinity for homely girls, perhaps a result of identification. And then there's Katie Keene. I thought she had the perfect life, beautiful clothes, 2 boyfriends, and a little sister to treat like a doll. And nobody has influenced my life more than Ted Berrigan. But I think I'm straying from the question. I guess that's it for now. Love, Joe.
I think I'm the last reader tonight, so I won't be introducing anyone after I finish. It's very moving to be here. And to feel Joe in this room. I mean, it's really fantastic. But on a more mundane level, I want to thank Philip Leventhal of Columbia University Press for welcoming this book with such open arms, and to thank everyone on his staff. They've been really nice to deal with. Also, I have to thank all the people who saved Joe's letters, although it doesn't surprise me that they did. And then all these years, and then made them so readily available to Daniel Kane, the editor. And Daniel, I've thanked you a lot, right? Already. You must be sick of it by now. But you're a little bit more? Yeah. Okay, well, this is a public thank you. And it's being recorded, and you really were a dream to work with. And your dedication and your selflessness in this project were very moving to me. And it showed me what kind of guy you are. So thank you, Daniel. Okay, I'm going to read excerpts from just one letter that Joe wrote. This was addressed to my wife, Pat, and me. We had just gone to France, and this was in 1965, and we were going to be there for a year. And so Joe was writing from Avenue B, 40 Avenue B, and it was in November 10th, 1965. So these are some excerpts from that letter. Dear Pat and Ron. Oh, by the way, before I start, notice he says, Dear Pat and Ron, not out of old-fashioned gentlemanly courtesy of addressing the woman first, but because Joe had a very, very close relationship with Pat, my wife, going back to our days in Tulsa. And I hope that someday someone focuses on that relationship, because there was something really different and special, and I dare say unique, about that relationship. They were so close in such an understood way that I hope that, anyway. Dear Pat and Ron, and we're in Paris, by the way. It is absolutely winter here in New York, and lots is new. I have new short hair. Some people like it, and some people don't. My apartment got robbed, but it doesn't matter because they didn't take anything except some change. I've been working hard, although I cannot say that I am happy with what I am doing. I've been doing sky boxes and sky objects. They look very nice, but they're not much fun to do. Thinking about them is great, and the planning, but after that, they are not much fun to do. And at the same time that I am working with sky, I am also working on 2 constructions, assemblages, both of which are driving me crazy. I do insane things to them every day in hopes that something unbelievable will happen. And every day, what I do cancels out what I did the day before. And every day, what I end up with is a giant mess. but I refuse to give up on them. Them, I can think of nothing to compare them with except vomit. I had a very fatherly dream about you, Pat, in which my only concern was to convince you that you had nothing to worry about as to the ship ride across the Atlantic. I told you over and over again that I felt certain that you would not get sick or anything like that. I have never loved you more. It's sort of funny, though, because I'm about as fatherly as a hole in the head. Actually, it was fun being that way, although I certainly am not. Tomorrow, I will help Ted run off C magazine. We see practically none of each other, and that, of course, is too bad, but there is not much one can do about it. When we're together, nothing clicks. There is a little obligation left, but that is all. I suppose this is depressing, but normal. I'm glad that you are away for a year, because we will all be sort of different then, and it will be a little like starting all over. And of course, that is a good thing. And also, of course, I am glad you are in Europe, because it is good to do things like that. I feel like doing something like that. You have lots of mail. The University of Tulsa would like $56.86. I threw that one away. The Paris Review sends you $12.60. This check is enclosed. The alumni of Columbia College want money. I threw that one away. The New York Telephone Company says thanks for using their service. I threw that one away. C Comics is in full swing. Ted and I did a 10-page comic called Pat, which is all about Pat. Pat will never be allowed to enter the USA again. Somehow, it is quite good, although I do not know how. It was very forced and thrown together, but I like it. The issue will include you and Ted and Kenneth Koch and Kenward and Frank and Jimmy, and I hope Tom Veach. Also, I may break down and ask Barbara guest because I like her and I like the way she looks. And also, I know that she would love to do it. I'm afraid that I am no editor. Kenward and I are putting out 2 new books. So, thanks to me, Boke Press is becoming a real press. It's a bit frightening, the effect I have over Kenward. A year ago, he would not possibly have put out a book of his own. Also, I've convinced him that he ought to have paintings by all his good friends, Alex, Jane Freilacher, etc., just on principle, I guess. And because he does like their work, and because he does have tons of money. 2 and 2 make 4, etc. I find myself with a certain talent that Frank O'Hara has, and that is to say something quite simple, so absolutely, that one, without even thinking, assumes that you are, of course, right. This is rather silly, since no one is ever right, but I suppose one has to impose oneself somehow. And actually, when one thinks about it, it's quite fun. And when one says it, it seems quite right. This always happens to me. I get to the end of the page, and I have said all I want to say, except that I have not said goodbye. And so, in order to say goodbye, I have to start a whole new page. Goodbye. Love, Joe.
Thank you so much, Ron. And thank you, Daniel, and thank you to all of our readers. And thank you to Joe. And have a wonderful night.